You're spending your time doing something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
So I introduced the post by basically sort of saying, trouble is that most of us grow up around kind of parents, friends, teachers who try and protect us from risky careers, things like creative careers.
Yeah.
And there's this whole kind of society thing that sort of says, you go to school, then you go to university, then you get a job. And I think it's quite fair to challenge that because, you don't necessarily need to go down that route. So the first main point that I sort of mentioned in this post was that you can do anything that you believe you can. Every single person who became a doctor in the world believed they could become a doctor. They did the appropriate actions to become a doctor, and I think that's a really powerful thing because it kind of shows that whatever you believe you can do and you're prepared to work for, you can actually go on to do.
I think you have to be careful with that. I think you have to believe you can do something that you are genuinely passionate about, and that you do have the core abilities and opportunities to be able to do that. I mean, if I chose to be a brain surgeon, that probably wouldn't be a very good idea because I don't think I've kind of got the natural what I would call core strengths, capabilities that person would require to be a very successful brain surgeon. So I think a good place to start is to think about what it is you absolutely love doing and also what you are very good at doing. And sometimes it's really easy to overlook what we're really good at doing because we are so good at doing it and it feels really easy to us. So it sometimes helps to kind of pay attention to other people's feedback, particularly if you can think of a good teacher that you might have had at school, a teacher that you liked, that encouraged something that you loved doing. And chances are they were probably highlighting to you a strength or talent that you could exploit or explore with view to kind of making a professional career from that thing. So
yeah. So the next point that we sort of touched on was how to actually find job opportunities, and I sort of alluded to this fact that finding job opportunities is much easier when you know the employers in your niche, you know where the vacancies are. You've got contacts with the main employers, people who can actually offer you a job, and you can basically up your kind of chances of meeting those people by going to events. I think events was, it's so powerful, like in so many niches. If you go to the conferences, you actually meet the decision makers and the people who can actually offer you the jobs, rather than sort of sticking your CV in line. Which has to go then to the HR person, then you end up going through a much longer process, and the person who is sort of making the decision is less accessible because you're competing against so many other CVs. I don't know if you've sort of got any other stuff to add to that.
No, network, and that's what a lot of Get Noticed is actually about. It's about evolving your communication skills so you can improve the quality of your network. It's not always about the quantity of people in your network, it's about the quality of people and the people you know. I think the people that you know is probably one of the most important things. The other thing I would say on that is don't hesitate to move out and up. If you really, really want a position, or if you really, really want a particular job, don't hesitate to kind of lower your ego a little bit to move into a company where there may be greater opportunities. You might have to take a slightly less paid job, but it's your feet under the table because it's much, much easier to be able to grab the opportunities you want once you're inside an organisation. Although I do say that with a slight hesitation, because sometimes it is easier to move out and up. I.e., you can, if you've developed your skills and to an extent where you've actually grown outside of your current position, but there are no opportunities in your current organisation to move up, you may want to think about moving to the next level, but into a different organisation. Sometimes that's an easier path, or it might be a little bit more risky. You've got to take a few opportunities to make connections with that organisation, but it's certainly a strategy that's worthy of consideration.
So what about employability? The third point that we sort of talked about in that blog post was how you can become more employable, and the kind of advice that I gave was communication skills. There was a study done, I think the Association of Colleges and Employers, that basically surveyed 1,000 different employers on what the kind of key skills they looked for in successful candidates were. And I think it was 49% said that communication skills was the number one factor that they looked for in candidates, because it's something that simply cannot be outsourced. It's something that you need a human with that skill to do. And it's making it incredibly valuable.
People with good communication skills tend to be people that have a reasonably high degree of self-awareness, and communication skills can be a hard thing to teach, whereas technical skills tend to be an easier thing to teach. So if you're already quite good technically, to be able to evolve your technical skills is probably quite an easy thing to do. To develop and evolve your communication skills is quite a challenge. And again, kind of plugging the Get Noticed book, what we've done is we've gone out there and we've analysed thousands of different instances, and we found out the stuff that really works, the stuff that's easy to develop, and will get you great results with minimal input and investment.
Cool. So the next point was how you can get your CV and your covering letter noticed, so how to stand out in the kind of the application process. I think I gave 5 points, but my two favourite were first making sure that your CV turns down the wrong employers, and the other one was, I've totally forgotten it now.
Whilst Marcus tries to remember what his other point is, I think on that particular point, in terms of using your CV to turn down people, it's a really, really good idea. And one approach you can take to begin going down that path is to think about who you would ideally work for and who you wouldn't want to work for. So in your journal, you could just start scribbling, or a notebook, a couple of columns, what a company would have that you would like to work for and what they wouldn't have, and start there.
Because I think on that note, if you try and present yourself in a way that's not really you, like, I've got friends who kind of grew up in the Amazon rainforest, and friends who have taken gap years. The right employers, the ones who you're going to get along well with, are the ones who are going to see that as a good thing. But the employers you're probably not going to gel very well with might see that as a bad thing.
And it probably won't be a long-lasting relationship either.
Yeah.
If you end up working for the wrong company, or it's the wrong fit, i.e. you might be able to sell yourself through the interview, you might end up getting the job, but you don't want to be dishonest, because it's going to come and bite you in the butt ultimately, because you'll end up in a job that you resent, you really don't enjoy, and then you'll be back to square one. And equally, you're not going to be adding value or giving a high level of service to those people, because you won't want to work for them and you don't fit in. So I think it's really important, even though it might be the long road round, to be really clear about what you want, and to be really clear about what value you can give to somebody else and how you can give that value.
Just hit my other point. So the other point was just making it really obvious how you're going to add value. If you're applying for a position, if you're applying to become a journalist and you write a blog that's got a couple hundred visitors every day, or you've got a couple of contacts, with major editors or bloggers, make it known, because not only, to you it may not seem like it's really high value, but what it really shows is enthusiasm, the fact that, you're doing this kind of stuff outside of hours. And I think showing that enthusiasm is just such a good signal to kind of potential employers. It's definitely valuable. So the final point in the post was basically how to get promoted, which I think is sort of your thing, really.
Is it? Promotion's all about credibility, and I would say the one key aspect to getting promoted is attitude. It's all about your attitude. If you've got the right attitude, you are going to stand out and say yes to everything. I mean, within reason, but be a yes person. You'd be
more sort of positivity.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd be surprised at how many, perhaps your peers or colleagues, you could recognise that fit into this bracket. There are so many people in there that say no. And whilst it's important to say no in terms of to the things you absolutely don't want, in a corporate environment, if you're really interested in getting promoted, you want to be saying yes. You want to be a yes person. You want to be a can-do person. You want to be a person who can fix problems and quickly. Be a problem solver. Think about the problems that you can solve easily and quickly. Be the go-to person for certain things. and you'll soon stand out. You'll soon get noticed within your environment and by your peers, by managers, senior managers, as a person that's exceptional, who is remarkable, and is not forgotten for good reasons.
So I think, in fact, I remember I copied and pasted some of this stuff from the actual book.
Yeah.
And there were 5 things that I really liked that I put in the post. The first thing that you said was never complain ever, because basically it's a way of adding credibility.
It's a waste of time.
The people who complain in organisations are the ones that
even
lose
constructive,
credibility.
even constructive criticism is a waste of a lot of people's time. You want to be a problem solver. Think about how you can fix problems.
Which is exactly the next point. Be a problem solver.
Yeah.
The third point was fake it until you make it. So that's you're basically saying if you're dressing like the people who are more senior, if you're using their vocabulary, you're more likely to progress because it's a smoother transition into that position.
Behave like your manager. One of the ways I got promoted way back in my career was that I started adopting the behaviours and the attitudes of my manager. I wouldn't say I perhaps dressed like them. I think we were all pretty dressed about the same sort of way, corporate environment. But the reason I did that is because I wanted to. I liked my manager. I really liked the way he behaved. I loved the way he interacted with people. I liked his choice of language. So I started to adopt some of that myself. And I think that it played a very strong part in me being then his natural successor, because people kind of associated as not being clones of each other, but it was an easy transition.
There wouldn't be much different.
I made a smooth transition for them, and rather than waiting for people to delegate more responsibility and work to me, I kept offering to take that responsibility or to take that work. So a great opportunity is, if your manager is going away for a couple of weeks on holiday, offer to stand in as the acting manager. It will give you a taste for what their job's really about. You'll also have to stand in for some of the responsibilities that person has, which can be a massive step when that person gets promoted or that person moves on. You can say, hey, I've already got some of that experience. So.
Final point then on the whole sort of idea of kind of getting promoted is investing in your own knowledge, which I know we were talking about earlier. Something you feel very strongly about. I totally agree. I think it's an absolute luxury if you work for a company that sort of invests in your own training. But either way around, you really want to kind of be investing in your own sort of knowledge.
Well, this is it. It comes back to attitude. I think if you're out there, if you're going on weekend courses learning how to talk properly or how to give better presentations, and you're spending your own money on those aspects of your core skill set, when it comes to review time, if your company is one of those companies that does, personal development reviews, and you demonstrate that you've invested your own money into, core strengths that are ultimately going to not just serve you and your whole career, but serve that company at that point in time. If you think about if you were a manager and you were having that review with that person, who would you give the bonuses to? Who would you give the promotion to? I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. The people that have got the right attitude and the people that are investing in themselves in a positive manner to evolve themselves and therefore the service that they're giving within an organisation.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, what we'll do is we'll stick the link to the blog post below in the description or wherever it sort of fits. Hope that's really useful, and we hope you sort of use this knowledge to go out and get a job or get promoted.
Let us know how you get on. Share your feedback with us. We're on Twitter. You can find our Twitter details on the website. Leave comments, send us emails. We'd love to get your feedback and know how this stuff works for you.
Yeah. Cool. All right, and cheers then, guys.